When Luo Feng received force armor, he, too, had a taste of its power. He connected to the virtual universe with his consciousness, as he wanted to inform his master, True Yin Knight, that he would enter the original star. In the virtual universe, near the boundless mountainside of Thunder Island, stood True Yin Knight's palaces. There were 6 figures sitting before the palaces, drinking wine while chatting loudly. A burly, stout man with 3 horns on his head held up a strange wine bottle and took big gulps. Rumor has it that on the vast plain of one original star, a splendid, godly palace emerged out of the blue, he said. In front of it, there was an ancient tablet that documented detailed information about a top-tier true treasure. With this true treasure, one can escape from enemies by teleporting or cut through layers of space easily while in battle. It is a superior true treasure that is good for escaping and attacking. This top-tier true treasure is called the Heavenly Gold Sail. He tooted inside. The very next moment, 3 universe masters, 18 universe overloads, and more than 100 universe knights dashed into the palace. The doors shut quickly, and when it opened again 6 years later, the number of survivors was half the number who entered. Rumor has it that the Heavenly Gold Sail was eventually taken by a universe master of the Northern Territory Alliance. The other 5 universe knights, including True Yin, jested in response. Really? Guangzhou Knight, don't make up more stories like you did before. If that really happened, why were we unaware of it? Guangzhou Knight glared so hard his eyes seemed to bulge out like little, round balls. Make up stories? I did not. Not now, not then. But previously, the news that you shared was about something that happened when the original star opened 2 cycles back, teased a werewolf knight whose body was covered in cyan hair. The Heavenly Gold Sail I just mentioned is a top-tier true treasure that had just made its first appearance when the original star opened this time. Guangzhou Knight said, his eyes still wide open. I have many good friends, and many of them who entered the original star this time came back with stories of all sorts. I just learned about the Heavenly Gold Sail today and immediately came to tell you all about it. And you think I'm bluffing? If you don't believe me, just wait and see. After a few years, news of the Heavenly Gold Sail will reach everyone. By then, you all will know the truth. Don't be angry, Guangzhou Knight. Tell us more about the birth of this top-tier true treasure. Yes, tell us more. Let me pour you more wine. The other universe knights persuaded him with smiles. Guangzhou Knight was appeased and downed the wine in his bottle in a single gulp. Then he held it out and said, fill this up. You are all too greedy. These top-tier true treasures, every one of them is precious enough to drive universe masters crazy with desire. Crazy to the extent that they are willing to kill one another. Guangzhou Knight shook his head with a sigh. This time around, the original star has only been open for slightly over 100 years. How is it possible to have so many top-tier true treasures to talk about already? If even a few top-tier true treasures were to emerge, I'm afraid there are bound to be several universe masters killed. Suddenly, the other universe knights turned to look at a faraway figure flying toward them. Everyone, take a look. Isn't that Blade River Emperor Luo Feng? True Yin, your disciple is here. Indeed, it was Luo Feng. I heard your disciple was in the territory of the Yenshin race about 100 years ago, where he was hunted down by countless great beings of other races. But he managed to escape unscathed. True Yin, upon comparing techniques, at least his ability to escape is much stronger than yours. Of course, he is stronger than me. True Yin laughed. He is a future pillar of support for the human race. His survival power must be superior. While they were chatting, Luo Feng had made his way to where they sat. Teacher, Luo Feng greeted with a smile. Luo Feng, come, take a seat. True Yin said and pointed to a seat next to him. Luo Feng laughed and sat down. He looked around at the other universe knights and acknowledged them with a smile. Everyone else is here, too, I see. An elderly who resembled a lion at first glance, because his body was covered with long hair, said with a smile, we did not dare enter the original star when it first opened. We would like to hear more news about it, to get to know more about what is happening in the original star. Blade River Emperor, we heard about your intention to enter that original star. Why is it that you have yet to go? He had inferred as much because the moment one entered the original star, it was impossible to connect to the virtual universe. Guangzhou Knight glowered. How would you know whether Blade River Emperor has gone or not? Blade River Emperor has the talent of dividing himself into several bodies. Maybe he has left one body in the human race domain. That way, he would be able to enter the virtual universe anytime. That makes sense. Guangzhou Knight makes a lot of sense. The others laughed loudly. Some looked over at Luo Feng and said, Blade River Emperor, have you been to the original star? Not yet. Luo Feng smiled. But really soon. I am here to inform my master. Then I will enter the original star. Immediately, True Yin Knight was slightly taken aback. Blade River Emperor, who is going in with you? The Werewolf Knight asked. You are not going alone, are you? Luo Feng nodded. I am going alone. Everyone began objecting. That is too dangerous. There were numerous senior universe knights being killed. Blade River Emperor, it is better for you to form alliances with other great beings. Luo Feng laughed and said, No worries. I am just going to accumulate experience. Guangzhou Knight looked at Luo Feng through his bell-shaped eyes. Well, I have some detailed information about the original star, including all kinds of things that have happened over the past 100 years. I like making friends. This allows me to collect all kinds of information. I may not know the most, but I definitely rank in the top 3 on that list. I shall provide you with the information later. Before you enter, take a good look and understand everything that roams within each original star. Luo Feng was thankful. That is just so gracious of Guangzhou Knight. Guangzhou Knight does know a lot of things and has a plethora of information. True Yin Knight agreed, smiling. But Blade River Emperor, Guangzhou Knight continued, his eyes still wide open. The more knowledge I collect, the more I realize how much danger lurks on the original stars. There is no law and order there to keep it in check. Initially, it may seem peaceful. However, when true treasures start to emerge, there will be much commotion. Supreme beings will come forth to fight for the right to claim them. The weaker ones will be eliminated in no time. The way I see it, with that power of yours and the many true treasures in your possession, you are bound to attract the attention of the jealous great beings of other races. Your chances of survival may not be more than 10%. 10%? Are you sure? The other universe knights shook their heads. Luo Feng has the talent technique domain. How can you say his chance of survival does not exceed 10%? Thanks to escaping death while being hunted down by a horde of universe great beings, Luo Feng had earned himself quite a reputation. Still, Luo Feng was taken aback. Were his chances really that low? Is it because of the universe masters? Luo Feng frowned. Universe masters are strong, of course. More than half of those gathered on the original star this time around are said to be universe masters. But there are few of them, and they are scattered across all the 10,081 original stars. There won't be any universe masters on the majority of the original stars. The chances of running into one are low. I am saying that your chance of survival is low because of the environment inside the original stars, not because of the universe masters, Guangzhou Knight explained. Every original star can only be so big, and there are so many senior universe knights and universe overlords gathered in the stars. But once your location is exposed, the others will immediately plan their counterattack against your talent technique domain. Hence, you will not be able to escape, and eventually, you will be killed. Luo Feng gave a slight nod. That was true. As had been pointed out to him before, a trump card revealed was no longer a trump card at all. Domain's powers may have been out of this world, but that did not make him invincible. If a few universe overlords with malicious intentions worked together, it wouldn't be difficult to defeat him. There were even some universe overlords with first-rate techniques strong enough to solve problems single-handedly. It is best that you have a partner, Guangzhou Knight warned. Complement one another so that when there is danger, both of you can depend on your talent technique domain to escape. Some kinds of danger require the help of a partner to withstand. Thank you, Guangzhou Knight, Luo Feng said with a smile. The information has been sent to you, Guangzhou Knight said. The next moment, Luo Feng received an email. The attached file contained an extensive amount of detailed information in the form of text, pictures, and video clips about various events that had happened during the 100 years or more since the opening of the original star. Luo Feng sighed inwardly. Luckily, he had obtained his force armor. With force armor, it is as if I am carrying a fortress with me, Luo Feng thought. together with the power of my Masha body to transform and replicate the shape and aura of other beings, who could recognize me as Blade River Emperor Luo Feng. Back in his god country, his original earthling body and golden horn beast body had tried on the force armor and had each felt its power. The situation coincided with the information he acquired as to what would happen the moment the force armor recognized its master. Luo Feng could not help but marvel. Force armor was truly a supreme, true treasure. He could understand why a supreme being such as Flame Emperor would resort to such underhand means to hold on to it. Luo Feng guessed that force armor might even be more powerful than Thousand Treasure River. Force armor was refined and made according to Sitting Mountain Guest's design. It was a true treasure in the form of a unique set of armor and was very different from the other true treasures Luo Feng knew of. To control true treasures like the Shi Wu Wings and Golden King armor, as well as treasures like Ancient Boat Galaxy, required one to have a very high law comprehension. Even someone like Luo Feng could only achieve the second forms of Shi Wu Wings and Golden King armor. As for Ancient Boat Galaxy, he was still unable to unleash its full potential. But force armor was entirely different. Soldier, General, King, and Emperor armor were all unrelated to law comprehension. Instead, they were dependent on bodily strength. Force armor was the same way. It was dependent on bodily strength. If the godly body was not strong enough, it would be useless even if one had high law comprehension. If the godly body was strong, nothing would go wrong even if one had low law comprehension. Force armor had 3 different forms. The first form required 100 million times the strength of a sector lord for activation. Once activated, it could block off and weaken the force of material attacks to 1/1,000. Soul attacks would be weakened to only 1/10, and the user would gain strength equal to 100 million times that of a sector lord. The second form required 100 billion times the strength of a sector lord for activation. Once activated, it could block off and weaken the force of material attacks to 1/10,000. Soul attacks would be weakened to 1/10, and the user would gain strength equal to 1 trillion times that of a sector lord. The third form required 100 trillion times the strength of a sector lord for activation. Once activated, it could block off and weaken the force of material attacks to 1/100,000. Soul attacks would be weakened to 1/10, and the user would gain strength equal to 100 trillion times that of a sector lord. This was an extremely powerful life-saving true treasure. Once a universe master burned up his godly body to activate it, he would be able to activate the third form. With this form, any material attacks by super true treasures of other universe masters were rendered futile. Material attacks would pose no threat at all. These effects only applied as long as one was not facing off against a more powerful attack-based true treasure, such as supreme true treasures. Should such a supreme true treasure appear in the original star, a heated fight among numerous universe masters would occur. For 1 or 2 universe masters to lose their lives in the fray was nothing out of the norm. Inside Luo Feng's palace on Thunder Island, in the sanctity of his private quarters, Luo Feng read the material on the original stars. "Impressive," he said. "This Guangzhou night indeed gathered detailed information about the original stars, and my plan will work. But it's indeed dangerous. And it's a place where the strong rule. Okay, the other 3 bodies of mine are already at the portal to original stars. In a space more than 100 light years away from the human territory, there were no stars in the space. Instead, there were only storms formed by hydromagnetic fluid. A 40-foot shadow stood in the space. He had a pair of silver horns and purple eyes, and he was covered with gray scales. In addition, he had a scorpion tail. He stood there, bloody and powerful. There was a strange beast squatting on his shoulder. The beast had wings, 5 horns on its head, and thick hoofs. Anyone knowledgeable would be able to identify this creature. A creature in human form with horns, gray scales, and a scorpion tail. It was Purple Pupa Beast. Beast could come in all forms, and some of them looked like humans. Purple Pupa Beast was one of them. Purple Pupa Beasts were known for their bloodthirstiness. Of course, most space beasts were bloodthirsty. Many great beings would have also recognized the strange, 3-foot-long beast on Purple Pupa Beast's shoulder. It was Golden Horned Beast, one of the 12 pinnacle creatures of space beasts. Haha, even my teacher is unable to recognize me, Luo Feng said with a smile. Masha body turned into the shape of a purple pupa beast, and it didn't produce any aura. Luo Feng stroked the golden-horned beast on his shoulder. The world ring inside Masha body was hiding remote ocean body, and remote ocean body emanated its force through the world ring. Luo Feng stroked the golden-horned beast on his shoulder. The world ring inside Masha body was hiding remote ocean body, and remote ocean body emanated its force through the world ring. Luo Feng smiled. Other great beings would only sense the bloodthirsty ferocity when they witnessed Masha body firsthand. His forceful presence rivaled that of a powerful universe knight. The extent of a being's power was related to its godly body. The stronger the body, the stronger the power. Universe overlords were powerful because of the pinnacle or ultimate techniques they created. However, their power was similar to that of universe knights, which was why it was impossible to sense a universe overlord if he didn't voluntarily show his power. Luo Feng's remote ocean body was 100 million times stronger than that of a sector lord, and because of its enormous size, its power was comparatively greater than many strong universe knights. Of course, the power of Golden Horn Beast was even stronger. Although Golden Horn Beast was currently only around 6 feet long, he had already performed both deities of the world and beast god transformation. Luo Feng had bought innumerable precious material to practice deities of the world during the 80,000 years he had spent creating his ultimate techniques. After all, it wouldn't cost him much to practice as a sector lord. Luo Feng had already been at a high status without his multiple treasures, and he could trade one of the treasures for many precious materials. He easily achieved the highest level of deities of the world, 36 times amplification. After finishing deities of the world, his body could be easily enlarged and shrunk at will, and it wouldn't affect his power. Deities of the world had amplification of 36 times, and the third level of beast god transformation had amplification of 8 times. When they were combined, they could only give Golden Horned Beast's body an amplification of 45 times. However, if he performed his talent technique strengthen, he could reach an amplification of 90 times. My Masha body emanated the force of remote ocean body, and it's at the level of senior universe knights, Luo Feng thought. However, the force coming from Golden Horned Beast is much more powerful. Luo Feng looked at the Golden Horned Beast on his shoulder, and the Golden Horned Beast looked at him as well. They exchanged eye contact. Huh. Anyone who sees us will regard us as two great beings of the Space Beast Alliance. Luo Feng smiled. There were 9 superpowers in the universe, and they were the 6 alliances of the 6 pinnacle races, the Ancestral God School, the Northern Territory Alliance, and the Space Beast Alliance. The 6 alliances and the Northern Territory Alliance fought fiercely against each other. As for the Ancestral God School and the Space Beast Alliance, they avoided confrontations. The Ancestral God School didn't fight for any territories, and the Space Beast Alliance was rarely seen. Even an ordinary space beast was a rare sight. The land of Space Beast Alliance was a secret in the universe. Although some great beings of Space Beast Alliance could be seen under some special circumstances, such as the opening of original stars, few knew where the land of the Space Beast Alliance was. A type of being that normally avoided battle and didn't fight for territories. It was the perfect disguise. My human identity is renowned in the universe. In my own form, I am like a moving treasury on original stars. I'll definitely be hunted down by the various races. Luo Feng took a glance at his gray scales. This appearance won't attract much attention, and I won't be encircled by them. After all, there were great beings of all races on original stars. They intimidated each other. They wouldn't attack others unless they could guarantee success, and the one known as Blade River Emperor, Luo Feng, was certainly tempting. 2 great beings of Space Beast, however, were not so easy to deal with. Luo Feng looked at the distant place. There was a gigantic whirlpool among the hydromagnetic storms. It had a diameter of 6 billion miles. It was gleaming and twisting the space around him, and the pressure from the whirlpool could crush an ordinary, undying fighter. A portal to original stars, Luo Feng whispered. So, Luo Feng stepped into the portal and flew inside. The deeper he got, the stronger the pressure became. Long. The pressure trembled the surrounding space. and Luo Feng disappeared deep in the portal. A towering figure flew out of the whirlpool. Its bloodiness and fierceness were terrifying. However, there was a more ferocious force around him. Two forces emanated from the towering figure and the strange, somehow endearing beast. These are the original stars. Luo Feng looked around. The whirlpool portal was behind him. They're boundless. Luo Feng could feel the pressure bearing down on him. It was far stronger than it had been on a neutron star or in ice hell. Luo Feng landed in a forest. There were 10,081 original stars, and each of them was of the same size, a diameter of 60 billion miles. Space ripples were completely frozen on the original stars, and the pressure could annihilate ordinary, undying fighters. The pressure trembled the space. In addition, God Country transportation was not allowed here. The star only had a diameter of 60 billion miles, which wasn't large to supreme beings. However, under such pressure, it would take Luo Feng a long time to boost his speed. Plus, under such great pressure, turning and changing speeds would be a clumsy affair. This place was like a domain coming out of a domain-type true treasure. The pressure is enormous. Even my Masha body with a life gene level of 100 times and strength 10 million times greater than that of a sector lord finds it difficult to walk on original stars. Luo Feng walked carefully with golden-horned beast lying on his shoulders. He walked out of the forest and arrived at the bottom of the mountain. There was a vast plain in front of him. Luo Feng moved forward and carefully sensed the energy force surrounding him. According to the information gathered by Guangzhou Knight, sensing the energy force on original stars was the most popular way to find valuables among the great beings. After a long while, an energy ripple reached Luo Feng. "It's there." Luo Feng turned around. Luo Feng immediately sped up like a beam of light. However, the faster he got, the stronger the resistance became, and Masha body clearly couldn't bear it. The resistance is so strong. Burn godly power now. Luo Feng started to burn a portion of his godly body. He sped up and reached sublight speed instantly. He flew off into the distance. There was a boundless plain beneath him. Luo Feng kept flying. After a short while, he saw 5 great beings fighting one another on the hills. So, Luo Feng landed. 5 universe knights, Luo Feng muttered. He saw someone from the demon race on one side. He was enormous and incredibly powerful. On the other side, there were beings of various other races. Luo Feng quickly speculated if one of them is of the demon race, and the others are probably from 9 Territory Alliance. There were 9 superpowers in the universe, and there were 12 top powers. The 12 top powers were not necessarily inferior to the Human Alliance and Demon Alliance when it came to the number of races and universe knights. The only thing distinguished them from the superpowers was a universe supreme being. There are 6 teams of great beings, Luo Feng though, looking around. Apparently, many great beings were attracted to the fight, and there were 6 more spectators other than him. However, they were all watching from afar instead of meddling. A beast with 3 heads transmitted its voice, calling out, "Prison Race Alliance, Crystal Race Alliance, and CI Huan Alliance." And there's a great being of the Space Beast Alliance, too. We've already got 2 of the 3 treasures. Let's go. Space Beast Alliance. A being of the demon race with a turtle shell looked toward Luo Feng. Let's go. Demon race was closely related to the Space Beast Alliance, and the demon race had always thought that space beasts belonged to the demon race. So, 2 universe knights of the demon race left, and so did the other 3 universe knights of the 9 Territory Alliance. After the fight, the great beings from the demon race and the 9 Territory Alliance left. The 7 waves of the audience, consisting of great beings from other races attracted by the commotion, watched the fight from afar. Thereafter, the crowd dispersed quietly. Everything that happened matched the description Guangzhou Knight gave me precisely. Luo Feng said as he cruised along the skyline of the deserted plain with golden-horned beast crouching on his shoulder obediently. The great beings within the original star are very cautious. If there are too few valuables, or if they are not confident enough, they will not take action. During the fight between the demon race and the 9 Territory Alliance, there was no aura of a true treasure at all. I think it probably involved only a few treasures. If its aura was concealed, then a true treasure would not be easy to differentiate from an ordinary treasure based on appearance alone. However, things were different on the original stars. The original stars were full of valuables. When different types of valuables appeared, there would not be much response. When some top-tier series of treasures appeared, perhaps there would be some response. However, during the birth of a true treasure, there would absolutely be a response. The greater the response, the higher the level of the true treasure. There was even a palace surfacing from underground. This palace was where a true treasure was hidden. It could be implied, therefore, that the greater the response, the higher the level of the true treasure. Luo Feng said, observing a whirlpool from a distance. It was suspended in midair. Another whirlpool portal, with no means of knowing which original star the path leads to. According to the description provided in the information given to him, there were 10,081 original stars, and there were 10,081 whirlpools associated portals randomly distributed that led to each star. Among them, only one was used for leaving the stars, which was the path leading to the whirlpool portal Luo Feng had utilized to arrive at his destination. The other 10,080 paths led to the other 10,080 original stars. All great beings in the original stars seek treasures, said Luo Feng. They do not run about randomly and recklessly. Most of them probably stand guard at a certain spot and wait patiently. Once they sense a trace of an aura or any other unique, telling sign somewhere, they rush to it. Luo Feng decided to learn from the experience accumulated from the prior generations of original stars. He would faithfully follow their practices. So, immediately, Luo Feng dove down and found himself flying into a low-lying ancient forest. There was a mountain that was approximately 600 miles high. Although it was much taller than any other mountain on Earth, when compared to those in the original stars, it would have been considered average. The ancient trees, flowers, and foliage on the stars were beautiful. Treading on a bed of fallen leaves, Luo Feng strolled about leisurely. The pressure here on the original star is overwhelming, he said. Weaker undying spirits would surely be annihilated. Yet these plants are able to thrive and bloom here amid mountains and rock formations. Luo Feng looked around and saw a short, sturdy tree with a trunk that was a whopping 100 feet thick. Unquestionably, these plants could all be materials for making undying weapons. They are definitely rare materials of high value. Luo Feng was aware of this, but he would not take anything. There were pioneers who had already attempted to do so. Luo Feng kicked the tree trunk. Judging by the impact created by his strong, godly power crashing against the tree, Luo Feng could sense that the large tree merged as one with the vast land. From a single kick, his entire body was thrown into the air, and he landed quite a distance away, sprawled among the lush garden of flowers and greenery. He picked himself up. Truly, he marveled. All this foliage is merged as one with the original star. The intel mentioned that the plant life here was not easily damaged. Even if super beings tried to cause damage intentionally, they would gather together and grow rapidly to recover their original form. Luo Feng used his godly power to isolate himself from the surroundings. Then he ignited the godly power on his right leg. His power increased tremendously. A loud honk sounded as he stamped his foot into the ground, creating a large cloud of soil launched into the air. The impact had created a hole in the ground. Luo Feng stood aside and watched wordlessly. A while later, the dispersed soil redistributed itself, and the hole was once again filled. There was no sign of the hole in the ground. Everything returned to its original form. Indeed, Luo Feng mused. What an amazing original star. On the original stars, any object that was seemingly merged as one with the original star, the earth, the foliage, and more, could be forcefully taken away, but only for a short moment. It would always return to its rightful spot very quickly. It was destined that any efforts to harvest these objects would prove futile. Only objects that were not merged as one with the original stars, like valuables that had just emerged, could be taken away. Immersing himself in the amazing original star, Luo Feng strolled through the forest, observing everything around him. Luo Feng's leg felt something hard and solid. Given his godly power, ordinary stones would have flown away. The uneven ground would be flattened. Luo Feng looked down. A sharp, silver edge was jutting out of the ground. Its tip was stained with mud. Luo Feng felt the object meticulously. There was something unique about it. He blinked. I can't be that lucky, can I? He muttered to himself. There were so many valuables in the original stars. Some treasures might appear without any indication. They could appear in places like the river and beneath the soil. Even while walking, one might chance upon a treasure. This sort of occurrence was not unprecedented. Chancing upon a valuable while walking, Luo Feng squatted down and touched the sharp edge with his right hand. His sharp nails locked on firmly, and his godly power encircled the sharp silver edge as though it were a network of threads. He exerted some force. Wah! As though he was plucking a carrot, he pulled. The earth loosened, and a silver object with a squarish body, approximately 1.5 feet long, was pulled out of the ground. Luo Feng skimmed the object with his godly power, and all the mud was wiped off. A silver, square body with an exquisite cover inscribed with some ancient laws was revealed. Its aura was indistinct, but it was undoubtedly a treasure. Haha, no wonder Sir Nineblade was willing to use 10 treasures as a thank you token just to borrow one of my true treasures, said Luo Feng. He was all smiles. On this original star, there are so many treasures that I could chance upon one while walking. Chancing upon a valuable while walking. Now that was lucky. However, there were indeed many treasures on the original star. So long as one stayed there long enough, it would not be too difficult to obtain dozens or maybe even hundreds of these treasures. They could then be contributed to one's race in exchange for a series of treasures. Moreover, these treasures could also be disassembled into valuable materials that were normally difficult to find. Upon disassembling a great volume of treasures, countless valuable materials could be gathered and reconstructed into an ordinary true treasure. Making an ordinary true treasure was no easy feat. There may have been only one being in the universe who could construct super true treasures such as Force Armor, Original Soul, and Yin Shin Halberd, and that individual was none other than Sitting Mountain Guest. Luo Feng's life imprint branded this square body. Instantly, it became his belonging. A stream of information was transmitted into him, and the silver square body shrunk rapidly, as though it were a magic cube. Soon, it was no bigger than a peach. A seal-type treasure that could contain a sealed space within itself. This is comparable to a sealed star. Luo Feng nodded with satisfaction. The first treasure since I entered this original star, and on the first day? If I could obtain one every day, after hundreds and thousands of years, how many treasures will I have collected? He knew that it was impossible. Nonetheless, it was fun to think about chancing upon treasures every day during leisurely strolls. Luo Feng walked about the forest for half the day, but alas, not a single treasure was to be found. He roamed aimlessly and found an empty spot where he sat down cross-legged amidst the falling leaves. There, he waited patiently. Time flew by. The original stars had stayed open for a full 1,000 centuries, affirming the fact that the chances of previous true treasures emerging were destined to be low. The occurrence was once in a blue moon. Eventually, a series of treasures and ordinary true treasures, normally common items, became highly sought after. Finding treasures required a little luck. It had been 2 years since Luo Feng had first set foot on the original star, and he had yet to catch sight of a series of treasures. Although he did manage to sense their aura on 3 occasions, the auras were relatively weak to his senses. This showed how sharp the other great beings were. The ones closest to the valuables when they appeared were the luckiest ones. During the 3 times when the series of treasures had appeared, Luo Feng was too far away. By the time he rushed over, the fight for the series of treasures had already ended. Luck! I don't even have a single series of treasures. It has been 2 years, and I have only obtained 2 treasures. What a shame. Luo Feng stood at the apex of the ancient forest and looked out into the distance. 2 years for 2 treasures still would have been considered quite efficient. After all, life in the original star was fraught with constant risk. Luo Feng was now disguised as a member of the Space Beast Alliance. As the Space Beast Alliance bore a mysterious, otherworldly aura, great beings of other races would usually steer clear from the great beings of this alliance. It had been 2 years, and Luo Feng, along with the golden-horned beast on his shoulder, had earned quite a reputation for themselves. At least, many great beings had come to know and remember them. The Humanity Alliance, the Demon Alliance, the Automaton Race Alliance, and the Bug Soldiers Alliance have all been engaged in violent fights, Luo Feng muttered to himself. So long as there is a pretext for violence, battles are always a possibility. The four pinnacle races were adjacent to one another. Hatred was being perpetually accumulated, and the battles in the original stars were always exceedingly violent. Maybe Luo Feng was still too young to understand, even though he had experienced an ambush by spies of the Bug Soldiers, which had led to the destruction of a planet, as well as an assassination attempt by Mud-Swallowing Knight. His detest for the Bug Soldiers, the Demon Race, and the Automaton Race was not intense to the point of being extreme, nor to the extent of insanity. Luo Feng simply did not harbor such hatred in his herd, but great beings of the human race who had truly lived for a long time were different. They had lived too long and, as a result, had accumulated countless conflicts and excessive hatred for the other three pinnacle races. One fight followed another, building up their hatred bit by bit. It seemed that eventually, every man's hatred ran deep. I have been here for 2 years, yet never once have I engaged in battle, Luo Feng sighed to himself. Just as he was feeling some self-pity, he detected a unique aura spreading out toward where he was. Now that he was more experienced, he was stunned. Immediately, he reacted. It's a series of treasures, he realized, or an ordinary true treasure. And this aura seems close. Luo Feng was excited. He hadn't been even remotely close to the treasures he had sensed the previous 3 times, but this time, it felt very close. So, Luo Feng's Masha body ignited its godly power in a blink of the eye. At full speed, it shot off. Home. It flew straight to the source of aura, a huge being from the prison race, standing at a height of over 30 feet with his entire body ablaze with golden flame. Could be seen with 2 other Universe Knights, each at least 300 feet tall. They had 12 pairs of black wings over their arc backs with bodies covered with black scales. This aura is quite strong. It might be a series of treasures or possibly a true treasure. Together, they flew over to where the aura came from. The aura of an emerging treasure. It's a treasure. The 6 different troops who happened to have been assembled in the region now rushed toward the source of the energy at top speed. Following the aura that was spreading out, troops of 2 or 3 Universe Knights came rushing over to the source of the aura as quickly as possible. Luo Feng dashed towards the energy emanating in the distance. The energy is strong, Luo Feng thought. He was pleasantly surprised and worried. He was happy because such a powerful energy source implied at least a top-tier set treasure or even an ordinary true treasure. However, he was worried because even if he could get to the valuable in the first place, he would draw a bloody fight. It seems that my first fight on an original star is drawing near, Luo Feng said. His eyes glinted fiercely and coldly. Xiao. A creature appeared beside Masha Body. It was Remote Ocean Body. Remote Ocean Body shrank to 30 feet and transformed into the shape of a purple pupa beast in human form, complete with horns, gray scales, and a scorpion tail. Masha Body went into the world ring instantly. Fight combination. Luo Feng's eyes glinted aggressively. Luo Feng presumed that it was difficult to kill the golden horned beast because of his enormous godly body with the force armor. Remote Ocean Body hadn't been able to kill Pei Feng Knight, even with self-destruction, and Golden Horn Beast Body had the same level of godly body and amplification as Pei Feng Knight. As for size, Golden Horn Beast was thousands of times larger than Pei Feng Knight, and his force armor could weaken material attacks by 99.99%. With force armor, Golden Horn Beast is solid, Luo Feng thought. Besides, Golden Horn Beast has a powerful godly body, and Remote Ocean Body has the same amount of godly power as he does. Remote Ocean Body doesn't need to serve as godly power storage anymore. Xiao. Remote Ocean Luo Feng flew into the sky with Golden Horn Beast on his shoulder. He flew across the forest and the plain and arrived above a swamp. It's there. Luo Feng quickly sensed the origin of the energy and dove towards it. He found a black hilt sticking out of the water. Only one, Luo Feng said. He exhilarated. It's a true treasure. If there were several pieces, they were a set treasure. However, based on what Luo Feng observed, it had to be a true treasure. And I'm the first on here. Luo Feng raced toward the black hilt. At the same time, a towering creature made of rocks and engulfed in flames, as well as two 12-winged great beings of the prison race, flew toward him. They could all clearly see the black hilt in the swamp and the blade revealing itself. The three great beings were all excited. "It's a true treasure," one of them screeched. Remote Ocean Body and Golden Horn Beast Body started to enlarge themselves at the same time. Remote Ocean Body, which was only 30 feet tall, became more than 5,500 miles tall, and Golden Horn Beast became 6,000 miles tall. According to the moved deities of the world, the length of one's body wouldn't affect its power as long as it was not too large or too small. Remote Ocean Body was more than 5,500 miles tall, and he was able to wield his pinnacle power. Remote Ocean Body stood while Golden Horn Beast Body floated in the sky with his wings open. Now, it was their turn to look down at the three tiny beings. Three tiny beings. The golden-flamed rock giant was around 6 miles tall, while the two-winged great beings were only 0.06 miles tall. They were indeed tiny compared to the massive creatures standing before them now. The golden-flamed and rocked being looked up at the two gigantic creatures and snorted. No, the two black-winged great beings were terrified. Size represented power, after all. Lion Eye, one of the black-winged great beings, said. Though space beasts are known for their size, an adult golden horn beast is usually 600 miles long. There are, however, methods within the Space Beast Alliance to improve their genes. We've seen golden horn beasts 6,000 miles long. But what's wrong with that purple pupa beast? The largest we've seen is around 60 miles. How is this one so big? Don't worry about that. What matter is, the bigger they are, the more difficult it is to kill them. On original stars, universe overlords usually act alone. Almost all those who cooperate with each other are senior universe knights. There are 2 of them, while we have 3. I'll deal with the golden horn beast. You 2 deal with that purple pupa beast. Let's get the true treasure together. Okay, don't get wrapped up in a long battle. They're enormous, and we'll be in a disadvantage if we do that. Remote Ocean Body was more than 5,500 miles long, and Golden Horn Beast was 6,000 miles long. They were blotting out the sky and land so that the 3 universe knights weren't even able to see the black blade. Luo Feng concentrated on the black blade. It was gradually surfacing and was moments away from completely revealing itself. I just have to make it through the waiting period, and then the true treasure will be mine, Luo Feng thought, and looked down at the 3 tiny beings under him. He had to be careful. Usually, universe overlords acted alone on original stars, and senior universe knights acted together. 3 senior universe knights made for a mighty team. However, Luo Feng was still confident that he could persevere. Senior universe knights. They are as powerful as Shihua Knight. I was like an ant in front of Shihua Knight before, whereas now, I can deal with 3 senior universe knights. But, without realizing it, he was already standing among the supreme beings in the universe. Kill. All the 3 supreme beings started the attack. Golden Thread, Aurora Mirror. Law Domain. Merge. Golden Thread, Aurora Domain. Golden Horn Beast bared its fangs and fueled Golden Thread, Aurora Mirror by burning his godly power, after which the area of 60 million square miles around him was trapped in endless golden light. A domain type valuable. Such strong resistance. It's at least a top-tier domain-type treasure, if not a domain-type true treasure. That space beast has a domain-type treasure. The 3 great beings were terrified, as that treasure was already as powerful as an ordinary true treasure. Though there were 3 of them, being suppressed by the domain-type treasure placed them at less of an advantage. Space beast, you're courting death. The golden-flamed rock giant roared and dashed at Golden Horn Beast like a streak of light, wielding a fiery hammer. Die, bastards of the prison race. Golden Horn Beast yelled and waved his wings. The Golden Shirwu wing was tens of thousands of miles wide, and it swung toward the golden-flamed rock giant like 2 colossal blades. Star and fire roaring sky. The wing rushed at the golden-flamed rock giant. Although Luo Feng's moon policy had not yet reached ultimate techniques, Luo Feng had begun improving it a long time ago. After all, he could wield one mystery in different ways, and although it took him a long time, The third move of Moon Policy could already beat all the 1,600 competitors Primal Chaos City leader had set for him. That meant it was already a top-tier pinnacle technique. It was 6 or even 7 times more powerful than when it was first created. Blade technique was a super pinnacle technique. The weapon was a true treasure, and with godly body and amplification at Universe Overlord level. Although he was comparatively weaker in Beast God conception, he wasn't afraid of senior Universe Knights at all. Star and Fire Roaring Sky, Crash and Burn, and Earth Shattering. Remote Ocean Body shouted, standing beside the Black Blade and wearing Golden King armor. He performed the move under his burning godly power and spiritual force amplification technique. Thousands of shadows flew out of his chest, forming a towering Beast God. The Beast God roared and dashed at the 2 black-winged great beings. The third move of Star Map, Star and Fire Roaring Sky, Crash and Burn, and Earth Shattering. Luo Feng had never performed this move before. The first time he had performed it, he'd relied on Remote Ocean Body. Remote Ocean Body and Golden Horn Beast Body were both going all out now. And with Golden Thread Aurora Domain slowing his enemies down, they clashed wickedly with the 3 senior Universe Knights of Prison Race. The golden-flamed rock giant swung his hammer with all his strength, and the hammer flew at Golden Horn Beast with a thunderous rumble. The force within the Golden Thread Aurora Domain was rendered defenseless. One strike from this hammer, and stars like the Star Traveler or the Neutron Star would shatter and be reduced to naught. Even the black hole would have crumbled beneath such a strike. The golden-flamed rock giant growled as he deployed his strongest strike. The environment within the original star did not shatter, but it was not because the hammer was not powerful enough. It was because the environment within the original star had unique traits. The hammer collided with the golden light blade of a pair of wings. With hands still grasping his hammer, the golden-flamed rock giant was thrown backward and propelled into the air, where his rocky legs lost contact with solid ground. He was forcibly suspended in midair. That loathsome space beast, the golden-flamed rock giant, roared in rage. Crush the Prison Race. Golden-horned beast transformed into a ray of light and made a turn back before landing again. The golden light blade sliced through the air, looking as if it could make mincemeat out of every obstacle in the way. Strike after strike. The golden-flamed rock giant was not as agile as Golden-horned Beast with its sure Wu wings. Moreover, the Golden Thread Aurora Domain had met with heavy resistance and was attacked under pressure. Golden-horned Beast was enormous. Hence, his sure Wu wings could spread as wide as tens of thousands of miles. Should it flap one wing down, the golden-flamed rock giant being would not be able to hide, even if it wanted to. Remote Ocean Body was like the Dinghai Divine Needle as he stood before the Black Blade. While watching the 2 12-winged knights of the Prison Race in the distance, he was also manipulating the gigantic Beast God while it hunted down the 2 knights of the Prison Race. Beast God was roaring while racing in midair quick as a phantom. The moment the 2 black-winged knights made it slightly further away, the Beast God would no longer give chase. The Beast God was tasked with guarding a certain area around the Black Blade. If the 2 knights of the Prison Race trespassed this area, they would be attacked. It was imperative to understand that the Beast God was a true treasure in the form of a spiritual force weapon and had an extremely swift flying speed. Now that it was coupled with Golden Thread Aurora Domain, the moment the 2 black-winged great beings of Prison Race set foot within this guarded area, they would be knocked out within a split second. A black-winged great being was sent flying out straight away. The other black-winged great charging into that area from the opposite direction approached the gradually ascending Black Blade at top speed. Roar! Beast God let out a roar and set off in the opposite direction so quickly that he left a trail behind him. Right away, he rammed into the black-winged great being with a loud crash, swatting it into the distance. What should we do? We can't force our way in, said one of the black-winged beings. The 2 12 black-wings great beings traveled far away enough while transmitting their message to the golden-flamed rock giant. That spiritual force weapon is way too fast, and they have a domain-type treasure. We have used up 3% of our godly bodies. Yet that loathsome purple pupa beast has not even used 1/1000th of its godly body. We can't afford to go on like this. The golden-flamed rock giant gave a thunderous roar of rage. He was at his wit's end. Although he was huge, the portion of the godly body he used up was small. He was aware that the golden-horned beast before him would use up an amount even smaller than he had. Even if he were to set his entire godly body ablaze, the golden-horned beast might not even have used up 1% of its godly body. But the golden-flamed rock giant suddenly transmitted a confident response. Ha ha, I can sense great beings of other races approaching. Fight a little while longer. These two space beasts will definitely feel flustered when the other beings arrive. That is when we seize our opportunity. The two 12 black wings great beings scanned their surroundings, instantaneously feeling joyful. As expected, two troops appeared coming from two different directions. Huh, Remote Ocean Body said, noticing the new arrivals. That is a group from the Northern Territory Alliance, a total of 3 Universe Knights. And the other group is from the Hong Alliance. They have 2 Universe Knights. Remote Ocean Luo Phone looked around and made a speedy judgment. Given my current identity, the group from the Hong Alliance will see me only as one of the Space Beast Alliance, and they'll react accordingly. There was no way he could bother himself with any other concerns. He had to deal with the 3 Universe Knights of the prison race, while keeping an eye on the black blade that was gradually ascending from the ground. Gradually, it arose. The entire tip of the black blade had nearly emerged. Almost there. It is going to come out fully soon. Luo Phone was anxious and expectant. Hurry, hurry, hurry. If I hope to stand any chance at all, it must be fully revealed before the other groups arrive. The 2 troops flew over quickly. Although the members from the Hong Alliance were not humans, they made their judgment quickly. Ha ha, it is a valuable, definitely a true treasure. And still in the midst of being born. The treasure has yet to recognize its master. Hurry up. While the Space Beast group and the group from the prison race are engaged in a deadlock, we should quickly grab the treasure right out from under them. Meanwhile, the 3 Universe Knights of the Northern Territory Alliance troop were thrilled, realizing they had been presented with a great opportunity. They took off for the treasure as though their lives depended on it. The Northern Territory Alliance was said to be the alliance consisting of the greatest number of races in the universe. A tremendous number of races gathered as one, bringing the number of Universe Knights within the Northern Territory Alliance to an extreme high. For example, in the open-air public square of the World of Glory of the Ancestral God School, the number of heirs from the Hong Alliance was merely in the thousands, while that of the Northern Territory Alliance was in the tens of thousands. There was a sizable difference, meaning that within the original star, troops of Universe Knights from the Northern Territory Alliance were seen more than any other group. When compared with the 6 pinnacle races like the human race, the distribution of resources, like treasures for great beings of similar power, were fewer in number. Out of the 3 Universe Knights of the Northern Territory Alliance, one was over 30 feet tall. He had purple gold plates all over his body, and he flew toward the black blade at top speed. Upon careful observation, he started to show a hint of confusion. He said, that seems to be impossible. It can't be. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Luo Phone agonized with anxiety. The black blade may have ascended to its tip, but it was emerging much more slowly than the approach of the groups of beings flying toward it. The 2 troops of Universe Knights from the Hong Alliance and the Northern Territory Alliance were still approaching at a consistently high rate of speed, even though they were within the Golden Thread Aurora domain. Ha ha, you can't make it. The golden-flamed rock giant of the prison race laughed aloud. Space Beast, you will not be able to get that true treasure. It is not yours to claim. Golden-horned beast let out a thunderous roar of rage. Hong. Golden-horned beast waved its wings suddenly, immediately turning back to the area surrounding the black blade. Wah! Remote Ocean Luo Phone also took a step back to stand beside the black blade. Come on! Remote Ocean Body and Golden-horned beast were both standing near the black blade, obviously guarding it with their lives. They just had to endure for a short while longer, and this true treasure would be theirs. I would stand against greater than Universe Knights than all of you. Remote Ocean Luo Phone thought. Even if you were Universe Overlords, Golden-horned Beast has the Force Armor. It is fearless. My Remote Ocean Body may be slightly weaker in terms of strength, The Golden King armor can only be activated up to its second form, which means it could weaken the power of material attacks to 1/1000. It may be weaker than Force armor, but Remote Ocean Body is huge. Defending with its sheer brute strength should be possible for a short while at least. Remote Ocean Body and Golden Horned Beast were like two mountains. One stood by the Black Blade while the other hovered above it to ward off any beings who dared to venture near. Meanwhile, the groups from the Hong Alliance and the Northern Territory Alliance both realized that the other groups had appeared. Kill, grab the true treasure. Hurry up, the other 5 troops are arriving soon. We need to hurry. 3 groups, the Hong Alliance, the Northern Territory Alliance, and the Prison Race, comprised of 8 senior Universe Knights. Plus, the Space Beast group was charging toward the center. Hong. The 3 troops transformed into rays of light simultaneously and charged. Golden Horned Beast immediately spread its wings and stood at the forefront. Hua. Its wings suddenly increased in size. The Sherwu wings, being a true treasure, could change colors at will, and this time, they were a magnificent gold. They spread wide open without inhibition, expanding outward in all directions. They became gigantic, easily spreading over 100,000 miles in a mere instant. The monstrous pair of wings surrounded the Black Blade like a mother hen protecting her chicks. Anyone who wanted to grab the Black Blade would have to forcefully move those wings out of the way. Attack! He actually thinks to resist us. Kill him. The 8 senior Universe Knights launched their attacks as one. One knight from the Hong Alliance held a flying wheel, an ordinary true treasure, and was exceptionally generous with his attacks. Numerous crashes sounded as attacks were thrown towards the Golden Wings. Golden Horned Beast stood firmly within the swamp, its 4 strong limbs like heavenly pillars. The depths of the swamp were unable to even submerge its claws. Its wings were propped up high and mighty. Hong. The 8 senior Universe Knights' joint effort boosted their power to the level of Universe Overlords. They struck repeatedly. I must stand with this bit of power, Golden Horned Beast said. He stood his ground, stable as a mountain. Regardless of the number of strikes dealt, the Sherwu wings and the Force armor combined to weaken each impact. With these treasures, combined with its gigantic godly body, warding off the attacks was a piece of cake. The 8 senior Universe Knights from the Northern Territory Alliance, the Hong Alliance, and the Prison Race instantly concluded that this situation was beyond their expectations. Those wings are a true treasure. It must be a true treasure. Few treasures can expand to such a size. No matter how big a treasure can be, to be jointly attacked by 8 senior Universe Knights, the size should reduce, or it would disintegrate. That pair of wings must be a true treasure. Ordinary treasures could be destroyed by some Universe Overlords. Even for a top-tier treasure, whether it shrank to ward off attacks or intentionally enlarged so that the impact of the attack would be weakened, no matter what it did, escaping unscathed was out of the question. Yet the combined attacks of 8 senior Universe Knights proved futile against Golden Horned Beast. At that moment, Golden Horned Beast and Remote Ocean Body shifted their gazes over to the Black Blade. The tip of the Black Blade was finally out of the swamp, and it was now hovering over the spot where it had emerged. Its aura was now fully restrained. It seemed like an ordinary treasure. Treasure, come to me. Golden Horned Beast gave a deep command. Immediately, a trace of godly power headed for the Black Blade, ready to brand the blade with his life imprint.